All right, folks, welcome back to the Average Reviews, where we don't just watch movies, we break them down, score them out, and settle the debate with our friends. Today, we're diving headfirst into the latest entry from Marvel Studios, Thunderbolts. And joining us is special guest Adam Gall.
That's right.
Hey guys,
Ooh. Sorry, didn't space there. Go ahead.
Give him a second, Jonathan. Hey, Adam.
I was just going to say I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be able to talk about this one because this was a really exciting one for me.
Nice. All right.
We are glad to have you. I know I've been trying for a while to get you on, so glad we finally made it work.
Schedule lined up.
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, we've got a lot to say about Thunderbolts, a movie that might be Marvel's attempt to steer the ship back on course, or just another entry in a very shaky post-Endgame lineup. Either way, we're giving it the average treatment, scoring it across all of our categories to find out where it really leads.
As always, we want you to join the conversation. Head to our Instagram and grab one of our 3 different scoring cards. You can rank the movie for yourself, category by category, and see how your average stacks to ours. Drop your scores in the comments or tag us in your own reviews.
Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. It helps more than you know, and we love hearing from you.
So 17 years ago this week, Iron Man hit theaters. So just let that sink in for a minute. Robert Downey Jr. launched what would become, and Jon Favreau, launched what would become the most ambitious cinematic universe of all time. We are not talking about the demonic dolls versus Toy Man cinematic universe from Full Moon. I thought that was pretty ambitious, but I guess this is more important. Back then, nobody had any idea what Marvel was about to do.
Yeah, people forget Iron Man wasn't even a guaranteed hit. Marvel was still figuring out its footing, but that movie set the tone. Grounded, character-driven, with just enough spectacle to blow our minds.
From there, it was hit after hit. We got the Avengers, the best movie of the entire franchise, Winter Soldier, and Civil War, all building to the ultimate 1-2 punch of Infinity War and Endgame. The culmination of over a decade of storytelling, box office dominance, and a fan base that was completely bought in.
But then things changed. After Endgame, it was like Marvel just kind of wandered off. The movie becomes less focused. The shows were hit or miss, and even their biggest post-Endgame success, Spider-Man: No Way Home, had a huge plot hole. People are still trying to, still scratching their head over a little bit.
Right. So if Doctor Strange can make the world forget Peter Parker, he can also make the world forget Mysterio. Movie over. The end. It doesn't need to exist. It's like they started throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck. Multiverse, variants, legacy characters, you name it. And let's not forget the behind-the-scenes mess, the very public collapse of their next big villain. Yeah, that sent rewrites into overdrive.
We've seen delays, reshuffling, entire projects getting scrapped or reworked. There's been a real sense that Marvel's been flailing, trying to recapture that magic without really knowing how.
And that brings us to today. With the MCU's box office draw slipping and fans growing more and more skeptical, Marvel needs a win. They need something to get the gears turning again to make people care.
So, is Thunderbolts that movie? That's what we're here to find out.
All right, we're diving in.
Okay.
So, the story. I'll go. Adam, do you want to fall in? We kind of like to keep it open conversation, but if you want to interrupt us, we don't take offense to it.
Not at all.
We'll just dive in. I'll kick us off here because this was actually the first Marvel movie I have been excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Probably since Spider-Man, if I'm honest. I showed up for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I was cautiously optimistic because of Sam Raimi, but
yeah, I was in the same boat. When I heard that Raimi was going to do it, I thought, okay, we definitely have something good coming. And I ended up walking out of that movie thinking we definitely had something that was okay. There's a lot in Multiverse of Madness that I really like, but overall, I'm not going back to it like I am the first movie.
Yeah, exactly. The little Sam Raimi elements are the best parts of it.
Oh yeah. When WandaVision goes full like witch, perfect, beautiful,
Awesome.
great.
It's awesome.
Everything else, just you know.
So then for me, the official final like nail in the coffin of me buying every Marvel ticket was Ant-Man Quantumania. Saw that. We actually, me and our first co-host Bryce, we did an episode on that way back in season 1. If you want to, that movie was garbage. I'm sorry. I hated that movie. So that was the end of me.
I never saw it.
I hated the movie. I hated the movie so much. I had to own a piece of it. I have 2 of these. I have 2 of them. I keep one in the box just to remind me how far we've fallen.
Yes, exactly. There was a brief moment there at the end where I thought it might be good, and this could be crazy. I thought it would be good if they actually killed Ant-Man, because it would give seriousness to the film. It would make it important.
I don't feel like they earned it. I don't feel like they would have earned it.
I would agree. But in the end, that was the final movie that I was like, you know what? I don't need to show up for every Marvel movie anymore. I'm done. And then, unfortunately, the TV shows on Disney Plus did much the same. I watched WandaVision. I watched Loki season 1. I watched Hawkeye, which I didn't hate Hawkeye. I know there are people who hate it.
Hawkeye was okay. It was okay.
I really like Haley Steinfeld, so I liked that.
There has been the conversation about how post Endgame we haven't, like, the biggest thing that the movies have been lacking have been strong, compelling characters. And for me, there are 3 characters released, or there were, we've seen post Endgame that have absolutely carried it. And Haley Steinfeld's Kate Bishop is one of them. I love her so much. I wasn't expecting to either.
She had one of the best, but then that also can tie in. That was one of the chances that we got to meet Yelena, who carries this film. And Black Widow was just take it or leave it. It was fine.
She's good because she's classic.
Fun. There's good action in it and everything, and getting a little more like familial backstory with the Red Room and everything was great in Black Widow. It's kind of sad the way it ended, but Florence Pugh kicks ass though, so I'm glad that she got to carry on in this.
She's the reason to watch that movie.
Absolutely.
Yes. You mentioned Kate Bishop kind of is one of the newer characters that is carrying it. I would agree. But after this movie, Yelena is as well. I kind of want to go back and watch Black Widow. I know it's controversial, but I love Florence Pugh, and I think she's more interesting than our previous Black Widow, if I'm honest.
I 100% agree. And I mean, I love Scarlett Johansson, and I am a Black Widow fan. I mean, going all the way back to Iron Man 2. But what Florence Pugh can manage to do with this is it's unreal how good she is in the role. It's almost too good for Marvel.
That's very accurate. So the story of this one, we kind of open up with Florence Pugh. She's an assassin for hire, basically. And she's doing all these secret government operations that basically they don't want to see the light of the day. Government doesn't want people to know what's happening. So she's doing these and she's kind of getting burned out. There's actually, I thought it was great story elements about how it's affecting her personally. And we'll get into those later. But basically she's doing this and she's like, I kind of want to be more public facing. And she's given an assignment. All right, take this guy out. And we get this. I thought it was a really cool scene where they're all there to take each other out in this. What is that called? Is it a Mexican standoff? They're all, they're all pointing their guns at each other, basically. Great scene. They end up working together to get out. And we get the Marvel version, basically, of a Suicide Squad. They're expendable characters. They're villains, anti-heroes who have found themselves working together through happenstance. And in some ways, as much as I actually enjoyed James Gunn's Suicide Squad, the way they brought this group together worked for me.
It made so much sense.
Nice. I'm enjoying that.
They seemed like one-off characters and everything
and so
else.
they meet one of the characters that meets
amazingly.
Yeah. And so together, while they're in this bunker, they meet this character, Bob, who just happens to be there. And then Bob becomes the main progression of this story. Bob ends up, we're going full spoilers here if you're showing up.
Oh, good, good.
We got one viewer. It's me on my iPad. It's me on my iPad. But we've got Bob. And full spoilers here, he is the Sentry. I think we've seen that. He is also the villain, but he doesn't start out that way. And kind of unraveling the mystery of Bob is what keeps these characters going. And this worked for me. I liked a lot of what they did with this movie. I'm going to go out there. Pretty bold statement. I want to see this movie again, see if it still holds up on repeated watches, which I actually think it will. But I thought this was one of the most unique stories the MCU has given us in a very long time.
Because the movie was about how these characters feel and how they're processing their emotions. It's not about the spectacle or the action. The action's good, at times a little CGI heavy, and I thought some of it was a little undercooked. But the crux of the story is you are here, you are sad, figure out how to manage it, become better. And Bob Bob immediately became one of my favorite characters in the entire MCU because he is this nobody who struggles, which, I mean, a lot of people, we can relate to that. And then he's very quickly given these godlike powers. And something just to jump ahead a little bit, when Val introduces him as the Sentry and he's in his full suit, which looks great, by the way, I love how he doesn't immediately try to kill the Thunderbolts. They are his friends. He's doing what he has to do, but he lets them go.
Yes.
And there's no back and forth with him and Val about, you know, you're going to do my bidding or you're my super soldier. He just immediately is like, why should I listen to you? And immediately goes over the edge. And it makes perfect sense when you have a character like that, given that much power that quickly, they're going to turn that fast.
Feeding the ego that hard like she did? Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
How could it not happen?
Let me ask you guys this. So you guys have both seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
No. Actually, I haven't watched that one either.
So
I'm a lazy bum.
Tim and I were talking about it earlier.
It's not one I recommend easily. So
okay.
I halfway recommend it. It's good enough to watch once, but don't force yourself to do it. But I didn't remember that Val was even in that show, so I had no idea who she was in this.
Oh yeah.
That's the problem with the Disney Plus things is a lot of these crossovers. Like we went into the Marvels a couple of years ago, and that Ms. Marvel, no clue who that is. Never seen that show. Never gonna watch it.
Yeah.
But something that I thought
I didn't watch that.
Thunderbolts did better than like Falcon and the Winter Soldier did, or something better than what the Marvels did, was even though there were elements in this that were introduced in shows like Val, I was still able to follow along well enough. The movie established them well enough on their own.
Yes.
I would say
and it
Bob
gave us
threw me
just
off
enough. So that was one area. Okay. Well, this was one area that I was curious about Jonathan's input, because I thought you had said you hadn't seen a whole lot of the previous installment. So how thrown off were you by Dime Store Captain America or Val or some of these other characters that came from Disney Plus shows?
You asking me or him?
You, Jonathan.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't seen it all. I was asking if you.
Yeah. Well, with Bob, like Bob pops up, and the immediate reference that comes to my mind is Bob in the whole Deadpool line of comics, because there's like Deadpool always had that Bob guy who I think worked for AIM and was always recurring through all the comics and stuff, and his connection and saying hey to Bob and whatever, in this weird kind of casual conversation and like relationship they had. So when there's this guy pops up here as Bob, you know, I'm like, wait, what? is this the same guy? Like, I was really confused for the few minutes there in the bunker. I'm sorry. It's just, I was so confused. I was like, what, is this the same guy? I don't know what's going on here. And until the story develops and you see more what's going on, then I finally get it, like, okay, whatever. But man, I was so confused for a minute there. But then it all came together. I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. Just me being weird with my brain. I don't know. As far as the rest of the characters, man, like I said, I didn't know who Val was. Yeah. So seeing Julia Louis-Dreyfus in here was kind of like weird. And then Bucky is a congressman. I don't know, man.
That was weird.
What is the deal with that? I was so confused when we saw him in Brave New World and they mentioned that. Why? What was the point of that?
So I didn't see Brave New World. I do think they are trying to appease, at this point, diehard Captain America fans have tuned out because you did it all wrong. But I think they're trying to go back to the storyline where Captain America was a political figure for a while, but they handled it all wrong because when Captain America went into politics, he gave Bucky the shield.
It should have been Bucky.
And Bucky became Captain America.
Should have been Bucky.
Yeah, it should have been Bucky. That's my whole issue here.
Yeah.
Would have made more sense
actually showed up. I showed up to this movie for Bucky as much as I did for Florence Pugh because he had the best redemptive storyline in all of Marvel. I know I have a buddy who argues that it's Iron Man. I disagree. Iron Man handles his parents' murder incredibly poorly. Like, I get it. But also, you are not considering at all the evidence before your eyes of the brainwashing and all of that went on, and Bucky's turn to not being that person anymore.
Bucky has had the most compelling character arc, going all the way from his first appearance in the first Avenger all the way up to now. Nobody in the MCU is more captivating than Bucky. And I don't understand how some people don't agree with that, but I mean, he's great.
No, I agree.
He's great.
And then I was kind of annoyed that in Endgame and, well, I guess he didn't show up till Endgame, but he's just kind of sidelined. Like he had an incredible story through Civil War, and then he's just been sidelined.
It's so weird. It's like they don't know what to do with him, but he's literally a super soldier. And he's great.
He should be Captain America. That's because
I will
never
they
don't want to do
understand.
They don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, I will never understand why they chose to give the shield to Falcon. Like, I love Sam Wilson. I love Falcon. And it drives me nuts when people tell me, they're like, oh, you must hate Falcon. No, I love Falcon. And that's why I don't want him to be Captain America. Because after seeing Brave New World, I don't like Sam Wilson anymore. What they have done to his character is they have made him a dour, depressing tryhard, which he never was before. He's a sidekick, and he's probably the best sidekick in the MCU. Him and Rhodey, they're the best. You can't just make him Captain America and expect it to work when you have the perfect guy right here with Bucky, which is why, surprisingly,
I agree.
I'm happy to say that I'm more of a John Walker Captain America fan now after seeing this.
Absolutely.
I love
He's such
John
a dick
Walker
in the beginning, but then he got kind of more development and a little bit more redemption in his personality as you learn more about him and as they start to get together. Something that Sam didn't do. Sam didn't grow. He regressed.
So we had slid into character, which is fine. But before we dive into that, out of 5, what was your score for a story on this one?
4.
I believe I gave it a 4 as well. Yeah.
We are 4 across the boards on that. So character. Let's talk John Walker. So Jonathan, if you like John Walker, maybe you go back and watch Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney Plus, because that's where he's introduced.
Yeah.
He's also the best part. He's the best part of the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he is.
So my biggest frustration, we were talking about the whole Bucky Falcon dynamic, is, and it happened briefly in this movie. I was glad we quickly kind of put a stop on it. Majority of this cast is super soldiers. So in the first encounter, when Yelena goes up against Walker, I'm like, one punch and she should be out. Like, I don't care who you are. He is a super soldier. You're a trained assassin. You might be able to roll with a punch. So I was glad that encounter was very brief, and then she did kind of get it handed to her in it. I was glad she kind of got her butt kicked, because my biggest problem with Falcon and Winter Soldier was Falcon is not a super soldier. He should not be trading punches with super soldiers.
With the Red Hulk.
Dude.
I haven't seen that movie because of that. I saw a clip
so
of him
dumb.
I saw a clip of him catch that flagpole, and I was like, his arms are shattered. I don't care who you are.
Square, like
arms
point blank by the Red Hulk.
Normal human.
Yeah, it's because he has magic suit armor now because of Wakanda.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is bad writing. If you
still, it's internals and everything from the force of that still should have done something a little more crippling, you'd think, right?
That's what awful. I think. So that's been my biggest issue, is Marvel doesn't seem to know how to handle super soldiers without letting normal people get their butt kicked, but not realizing that those normal people in comics have always been able to go up against super soldiers by outsmarting them, using tricks, all these other various methods that are interesting. So I was glad that Yelena was quickly put down in that fight. And then basically we did see that she could not go up against super soldiers later. So I liked that. She had to use her brain. I was like, oh, good. We're making the difference here. I also enjoyed the conversation that happened between, why can't I think of his name? Red
Guardian.
And Bucky.
Yeah.
When they were basically talking about levels of serum, what kind of serum did you get? And I was like, oh, this suddenly means that like Bucky might be significantly better than Red Guardian, because he didn't have like a slightly different knockoff, or like, oh, I had the Soviet strain, I had the Hydra strain. Like, you're getting different versions. So like John Walker might be weaker than the others because he got a different version.
Well,
I was surprised. I completely forgot, because again, it's been a while since I've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I actually forgot that John Walker had the serum. So when they're in that like elevator shaft and he like super jumps up, it like took me back from like, what the hell just happened? I had to recalibrate and remind myself that I'm watching a superhero movie, because it's been so long since I've seen one that actually impacted me that I forgot what they were supposed to be.
Watching him fall and land, hit hard on his back was so awesome. I just laughed so hard.
He also deserved it. He deserved to fall.
Big time.
Yes. Get cocky, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
Did you get the vibe arcs?
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead. I'm jumping ahead.
Nope. Typically in this section, we're covering the character arc. Does the movie take our characters on a journey of self-discovery? Arguably, and I hate saying arguably because it's a cop-out. Same with like, in my opinion. But this movie takes these characters on more of a personal journey than most MCU films.
Certainly more than any MCU film we've gotten in the last 6 or 7 years.
Yes, it is deeply personal. And I do agree with, I saw a lot of the reviews after I saw it, that it's fairly shallow. And to a degree, I don't think our resolution is necessarily a deep one. I don't think that's what we're here for. I think we are here to see the ramifications of specifically these anti-heroes who have shady pasts and how that affects their daily lives. And I thought it did a pretty good job of showing that. And to the people who said it was particularly shallow, I don't necessarily agree. I felt for the character of Bob when he's sitting in that attic watching the memory of his dad abuse his mom and push him around, and his desire to do good, but being bogged down by basically these internal thoughts that are his father's voice. I was like, this is good stuff.
I mean, think about think about how they end up defeating Sentry in the end. It's not with a fist fight. It's with a hug.
Yeah.
Yes.
They literally beat him by hugging him and letting him know that he matters and that he's good enough.
And he's
I
not
don't know
alone.
how you can see that and say that this is shallow.
Well, and that's the thing. I've seen people be like, oh, it was just a group therapy session. And I'm like, yes, but here's the thing. If this had been a major CGI battle at the end, you would be complaining that is yet another CGI battle at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel took a shot, did something different. I thought the personal rooms battling through memories was fascinating.
Yeah. I wanted more of that, honestly.
Dude, seriously, I wish there had been more rooms to see more of that trauma and them fighting through it and overcoming that trauma in order to get to him, you know, and get that sense of like self-growth as they get over those issues to get through it. I don't know, man. It's kind of lacking that part.
I can only imagine how good Red Guardian's room would have been.
Oh,
I
God.
wish we got to see that.
Could you
That
imagine
dude's a trip.
Bucky?
I love him. Oh.
Yeah.
When Bucky shows up and Yelena's like, you all right? And he's like, yeah, I have a great pass. I'm fine. I died because from what we know, he has one of the darkest pasts of any of these characters. I'm like, his rooms are probably nightmares. And I just thought I thought it was really clever. I thought this movie bordered on horror more than Doctor Strange did. Honestly, Doctor Strange leaned into the campy horror, but this was like emotional horror. It was dark.
The void as a concept is a terrifying thing. The moment when Red Guardian like stops that piece of concrete from hitting that little girl, and then immediately she's whisked away. Dude, oh my god!
Hell.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm getting right now.
Yeah, that was so dark. It was so good. I like the whole idea. The director said he got the idea from the Hiroshima.
Oh,
and
I saw. There's a lot of a lot of that imagery in there.
I thought, like, that's really the biggest amount of CGI at the end. A little bit of superhero stuff. The rooms. We're talking about characters. I'm just talking about this whole movie. So we get the
great movie. It's a really good movie.
The Sentry and the Void storyline I thought was actually fantastic. And I even liked, I think there's a little bit more depth behind, you're kind of thinking going into it that Bob needs to defeat these dark thoughts. And so he leans into that and just starts beating the crap out of it. And then Yelena says, that's what it wants. I'm like, yeah, because when you're struggling like he is, the solution is not to beat yourself up more.
Don't embrace the dark side.
Yeah. That's not it. I was almost sitting there thinking, like, I think he needs to stop and turn around and go to his friends to get away from the dark thoughts. But it was his friends who came to him. And I was like, I'm buying this. I'm not ashamed to admit I almost ugly cried. Yeah, I cry at movies. I cry at just about everything. I was tears coming down, and it might have been a little cheesy. It might have been on the nose, but I was like, that hits.
If it's impactful, it's impactful. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But on your point where you said, you know, his friends came to him, I think that's far more important than him walking away, because what Bob needed in that moment was somebody to reassure him that he's valued. He didn't just need to see it himself. He needed other people to help him out, which is, I mean, it's the whole point of a team up movie is to lean on each other.
That kind of speaks to culture with that kind of stuff too. Because I mean, when it comes to mental health issues, a lot of people don't see the signs, or they ignore the signs, and they don't take the time to help that friend or that person who needs that sense of extra care sometimes. So that has a really big impact in the way they presented that in this film.
That's true.
I will always appreciate that Marvel made a movie tackling mental health like this. I mean, just for that alone, Thunderbolts ranks pretty high for me. But then just the sheer quality of the movie as well. I mean, I'm happy. I am really happy that we got another good MCU movie.
I texted my comic book buddies that I have a chat with all the time. I texted them walking out of this movie, and I said, guys, it's like my knee-jerk reaction to this film it's a top 10 MCU film for me.
Mhm.
And I don't know exactly where it lies, but it's towards probably top 5. And that surprises me. But
my MCU ranking shifts around a little bit, but as of right now, I have it at number 9. So it's in my top 10.
okay.
Oh,
I know
nice.
you were just going back and started at the beginning. Have you made it through all of them?
I am up to the last one I watched was Infinity War, and then I stopped to watch Daredevil, and then I've been getting my ass kicked by that for like a month and a half now. So I haven't picked back up to the movies yet.
Okay.
Daredevil. Yeah.
Look,
Okay.
Daredevil. I know we're talking Thunderbolts, but Daredevil
Infinity
is.
War is better than Endgame.
Oh yeah. Infinity War is my number
I've
2
heard Daredevil's-
right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was number 1?
Guardians 3.
What's 1?
Number 1 is Guardians Volume 3. Yeah.
I really like Guardians 3. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
I really
That
like
movie-
that one. My
it tears
one
me
is
up,
Winter
man.
Soldier because it works as a standalone.
Oh, yeah,
Guardians
yeah,
3 is excellent.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about Sentry and Void, but I actually think they do justice. Just about the only characters who are there in supporting roles are Red Guardian, supporting role.
Yeah.
Ghost is a supporting role.
Very
Yeah, I didn't hear
But
that much
we
about
get-
her.
Yes. Ghost was from Ant-Man 2.
Yeah.
So we literally haven't seen her in almost 10 years.
Yeah. Right about there.
Yeah. So, but she's a fascinating character.
Yeah.
The main characters,
I-
we get some more John Walker.
hmm
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I liked Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but she was never a character I was like pining to see again. I'm happy she's back
Yeah.
because I liked her in this, but she, out of all of the ones that don't die, she's definitely the least like fully baked character in there.
Yes. And I think they needed her for her power set, honestly,
hmm
more than anything. But Walker gets better treatment here than I thought he did in Falcon and Winter Soldier. He
Mhm,
kind of starts off much the way he left, kind of an unlikable asshole, really.
Mhm.
And we get to see like he's covering a lot. He's dealing with a lot of his mistakes. They're touched on briefly. It's not real in depth, but it's enough that we have an understanding. And we see that he does want to do right. And I thought that was good stuff. We get a lot more of Yelena than we have before. And she's a standout. Like I like Scarlett Johansson. I like Black Widow. I like her more. I like Yelena
Yeah.
more. I would see
Yeah.
more of it.
Yes.
She's more interesting.
She
so
does
they
the action really well too. She really
does.
carries her own. Yeah.
I like her grit. I like the grit that she has as a character.
Yeah.
hmm
She does a lot to carry this film. Those 3, I would have liked to see more Bucky. He's my favorite character. We've said that. They don't really seem to know what to do with him. This did him better than anything he's been in for a while.
Yeah.
But outside of that weird congressman stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
Which
I'm
I
huge-
like.
Other than that.
Yeah. I like that we got to see Bucky get more involved with the world. Like, I don't mind him being associated in a political way, but it's just so weird that they dropped that on us in a cameo in Brave New World and then don't do anything with it in this movie. And then Val even brings up at a point that he only served half of a term, but at no point in this movie did he leave his position. Right? Or did I miss something?
Those are speculation when they come to the tower, and she's just like, "Oh,
so she's just
you made half
assuming
a
that
turn
he's
at this
quit?
point."
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she was saying that by his actions showing up there, his term is done.
Done. Yeah.
Fair. I mean, it needs to be done, but yeah.
Yep. So that was like a little insult.
He's not good politically in that
From her.
role. Yeah.
No, he was so bad when he was getting interviewed. I was kind of wincing, and I'm like, ugh, you're bad at this. Stop. Stop
You're not
trying.
really a public face.
No.
I think that might have been their point, that he's not really a public face.
Yeah.
No.
But then that
He's an action
just circles back around to the question of Marvel, why did you even do this? If the
Yes.
whole point of making him a senator was to show that he's not good at being a senator. Why make him a senator?
Yeah.
I
Just make
I
him.
don't know.
Yeah. Well, because they couldn't make him an assassin for hire because that's what
Been there, done that.
before.
Kinda.
You couldn't
That's
really keep him
fair.
doing that.
Yeah.
That just came to my brain though. So, other comments on character? Or are we ready for scores?
I was really big on Yelena and Red Guardian as that whole kind of father-daughter thing with her talking about how much of a struggle it was losing her sister and him just not being there and him being like, oh, I thought you didn't want me, and then them finally coming together and having that sense of understanding and him getting to have the opportunity to kind of fulfill that fatherly role, even though he's such a goofy, weird guy, and how he tries to bring the team together. And he even mentions in his limo after he picks him up in the desert and how embarrassed he is with all of it, about them being an anti-hero team and coming together and being like, he's like the cheerleader, supportive dad role of all of it.
He's so good.
Awesome.
Between this and Stranger Things, David Harbour plays the weird dad so well.
Yeah.
I love their dynamic with him and Yelena.
Did you think? I genuinely thought at one point of this movie they were going to kill him for the emotional impact. He had that conversation with Yelena. Oh, I thought Sentry was going to take him out at one point because I thought that was going to be a catalyst, but I'm glad they didn't go that direction. But for me, I actually, after we're talking about it, I'm wanting to go up to a 5 on the characters. I really...
The characters are the strongest part of the movie.
I haven't resonated with a character arc in a Marvel movie in a very long time. And this one was, I thought the common person can relate to these people more than the Steve Rogers or the Thors. We don't understand Thor.
Yeah.
So I think I got 5 on this.
Not since Rocket in Guardians 3 have I felt this deeply attached to a character.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Rocket storyline, man. God, that was so fucking sad.
Yeah. That was brutal.
Just the animal abuse and everything that you see, it hits a note real hard. Yeah.
Yep. I lied. I think I saw that one in theaters, so I think that was one of the ones I got out to after Ant-Man. But yeah, I'm a 5 on this. You guys?
5.
I think I said 4, but I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna say a 5 because the more I think about it, I love them. I love all of these characters.
I'll bump it up. All right, so this one's gonna be a little shorter. Sound design, music. I thought it was serviceable. What?
It was effective.
Good. Yep.
Yeah.
It did its job, but it's not super memorable.
You got like one memorable song in the Avengers theme, and that's really it. The rest was just a score that just sets a tone, and that's it.
They very effectively set the tone when Void was spreading the void. It did sound creepy, but I couldn't hum that for you. Like, it's not stuck in my head. I remember it working, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I agree completely. I did like the slight twist on the Avengers theme, which I'm sure we'll get to later on the reveal at the end. Kind of want to save that for later. But the slight twist on that I thought was fine, but again, it's not super memorable. It certainly wasn't bad music. I liked how we interrupted the Marvel theme at the beginning and just cut to got quiet and went to black. That was a nice touch.
What did you guys think? Immediately, the first thing I noticed, the Marvel logo was made up of only comic book panels this time. No clips from the movie. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
I didn't even think of that because it quickly, the music quickly cut and Void took it over. And I was more impressed by that. I was like, ooh, that's a nice touch. That's a nice touch. I did
thought it was
that.
eerie.
So I didn't even think about the comic panels.
I like when Marvel does something different with the Marvel logo because it really helps to set the tone. And I really noticed this one, especially since coming off of Brave New World, they didn't even put the Marvel logo on it.
Oh, really?
There was it was the first MCU movie with no Marvel Studios logo.
Maybe they kind of had an idea already and putting it out,
Set-
post production, like,
Yeah.
man, maybe this we probably already know how this is going to be received,
Yeah.
and why
Yeah, let's
bother?
just
I heard
let's
that
just get
movie
rid
was
of it.
an
We'll,
internal disaster.
it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but
Yeah, but it's up there. All right,
it's
so then
low on the list.
So music, sound design, not a whole lot to say. I was a 3. It was good. It was effective at what it did. Not super memorable.
3, yeah.
Right down the middle for me.
Okay. And then editing and special effects. This is an area that I have not been able to praise Marvel for a very long time. And I think the biggest strength to this film is it wasn't a CGI fest. It had CGI, but it was not, it was a lot. That's part of the benefit of having super soldiers. You put the character on a string and pull them when they get punched. You don't have to CGI a whole lot.
There's an accent more than anything.
Yes, the ending avoided a major CGI slog fest. We get the Void CGI stuff, which is pretty subtle. It's done well.
I loved how it looked. I know a lot of people have talked about how like dour and bleak the movie looks because of the color palette. I personally loved the way it looks, but I will say this: since there wasn't a whole lot of like bombastic CGI, when the team is fighting Sentry in the top of the Avengers Tower, that looked kind of bad to me. A lot of rubber Bill Pullman there. Yeah, it was really noticeable. But that was like the only scene that was noticeable. But unfortunately, it was Sentry, and it looked like a video game.
Yeah, I noticed when they threw a couple of the bodies, I was like, I'm not exactly sure those bodies were stunt doubles. It looked pretty CGI'd. But outside of that, I think I liked seeing, one of my favorite things about this movie was since Thor Ragnarok, we have had these digital backgrounds that look terrible in most Marvel films. And
it's almost like they shot this one on a real set.
And I didn't yes. It looked like this was on sets. It looked good. There was not a moment that I was like, the set ends there. I was immersed. It looked nice. It looked really good. I was surprised. I think the only time I thought that it might have been a digital background was towards the beginning, when Yelena was hiding behind a rock and watched Taskmaster go into the building.
Yeah, it looked a little special.
That was the only time that I was like, that could be a set, or that could be a digital background. But other than that, I thought they did a really nice.
Yeah.
The what?
They might have used a lot of the volume on this one, but if they did, they used it effectively. Because I'll be honest, at this point, I'm sick of the volume too. It's very noticeable a lot of the times.
That's fair. I gotta say though, that fight in the Avengers Tower though, I thought it was kind of stupid that they're all going after Sentry and not a single one tried to go after Valentina just to knock her ass out. I was like, why didn't someone just go punch her in the face while they're all doing that? At least drag her off and do whatever while they're doing that. Distract him, something.
I did appreciate Yelena, like, he's not the enemy, trying to stop them. Like, what are we doing? Stop. I did get that. Thought that was nicely done. I thought much of the hand-to-hand stuff, it's not Winter Soldier level hand-to-hand stuff. Like, that movie is still peak on the hand-to-hand combat for me.
Yeah.
But it was the best we've gotten in a really long time. I enjoyed it.
I agree. I enjoyed the action scenes in this, which
and
crazy.
Then the editing we were talking about going from the rooms. The editing on the room scenes was really good.
The turns and everything as things shifts around.
I especially like that scene where did she jump through a mirror or a window, but she like half flops onto the floor. And I was like, that was a good cut. That was really nicely done.
So she's going through forward, but then falls forward into the bathroom where she's passed out drunk.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Now, I love how when she was in there, she could only see Bob in the mirrors. Like, even when she was in the room with him, there was still that separation. And every time she would turn, he would disappear. And
There's some horror movie elements going on there that were working for me.
A lot of the horror elements in this movie, I thought is what we were going to get in that New Mutants movie back in the day, when they kind of pitched that as being a horror movie, and that fell flat on its face. So I'm happy that they were actually able to get some horror stuff into a good comic book movie, because I've been dying to see that ever since that train wreck.
Anya Taylor-Joy as Magic was fantastic casting. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite actors. And somehow he still missed that movie. Messed that one up.
We could go on for hours about that movie.
I actually saw a clip of that earlier today on Facebook.
So for me, editing and special effects on this movie is still too much CGI. Not going to give it a 5. I am going to give it a 4. And unfortunately, I don't know if it deserves a 4 or if Marvel has been so bad lately that this one looked really good.
Yeah.
I might be giving it a 4 for the very fact that they built sets and shot on locations over using CGI.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go quite as high as a 4. I'm going to say a 3, just simply because that Sentry fight looked really rubbery to me, and I can't overlook that. But the rest of the movie, I was very happy with.
Yeah, we got a CGI part where you see like him, Sentry, like kind of throw Red Guardian with his power out through the glass, out in the air, and then slings him back in. I kind of see what you're saying with the rubberiness, kind of with that.
Yeah,
definitely.
And whenever they would like hit the wall or the floor or something like that, they would kind of like bounce a bit, and I'm just like, that's not what would happen. They'd be soup.
That's perfectly fair. I really did like Void's nearly solid blackness with pinprick white eyes.
Oh.
Yes. I cannot believe how good the Void looked.
Yeah, that was sharp.
And the fact that it looked real too.
Yeah, it did.
It's like even when he opened his mouth, you can still kind of see a slightly less black of the teeth, and just those slight differentiations in the accent of blackness, and then those pinprick eyes. Oh, dude, that was pretty cool. I think
it's creative because on paper it's real easy to say just paint it black. But I feel like they went the extra mile, and instead of making him black, they really emphasized the absence of light.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Vanta black.
Yeah. He's a 3-dimensional void of nothingness, but you can still see like the dimensions of him. And that's very slight lighting around the edge of him where you can see it's not 100%. There's still something there. Incredible. One of the best character designs I've ever seen.
Well, Tim, do you remember what Vanta Black is from art school?
Yes.
There's actually some version. It's such a dark black. This guy who makes it is such a dark black. It absorbs light, and it's like the blackest black. It absorbs all. It's so amazing. I saw a guy who painted a whole room in it once. Talk about expensive. Holy shit. Costly paint. And then
that sounds like an anxiety attack.
Dude, seriously. And then there's another person who painted their car in Vanta Black. And
I've seen that. I saw that.
Oh my gosh. The Void, the blackness of Void was like that Vanta Black. It's so deep, so dark, so light absorbing of nothing. That was super impactful.
Yeah. It was it
so
was really well done
on the special effects with all that.
4. And Adam was a 3.
Yeah, Void alone gets a 5, but everything else gets a 5.
Everything drags it down because of that.
Gotta average it out. The script here. So I'll be honest. I think I'm gonna have to change my score after we've talked about it. I thought a lot of the mental health things that I appreciate the story for going into, for the way they did it with Void and Sentry. Excellent. I thought the way the script specifically said it, the words that were chosen to come out of the characters' mouths, didn't quite hammer it as effectively as a lot of the imagery and overall narrative did. I thought some of it was a little bit, I don't want to say heavy-handed. I think simplified is the word.
A little Saturday morning cartoon kind of lesson.
Yes. It was like, oh, we need to be there for our friend. You're not alone. Like, it's not the worst. It wasn't bad. But there is, when you're dealing with that, I've seen so many read books, other movies, honestly, I think one of my favorite movies about mental health, which is insane. I really thought Everything Everywhere All at Once did an amazing job with it. And that's a totally crazy movie. And I know some people hated that, but this
I still gotta watch that one too.
this was
I'm
just
not
a
a
little
No.
No.
not a fan on that one. I
No.
liked it, but I know a lot of people didn't. There are plenty of other movies that can be brought up for that. But I thought it was just a little oversimplified in some cases. Not a bunch of in-depth conversation. They managed to show these feelings and things better than they discussed it.
Yeah.
Right. I think for me, I ideally you want them to be able to show it and discuss it like perfectly both. But if you're only going to be able to excel in one of them, I'm happy that we got to visually see it rather
Show
than
versus tell.
Yeah. But I do agree with you. But at the same time, I don't want to hold that against the movie because at the end of the day, this is still Marvel. And as good as Marvel is, I feel like they don't really have the ability to go as in-depth as something like an Everything or Eternal Sunshine or, something that really discusses like mental stability and all of that. I think what they did, it worked perfectly well for a summer blockbuster, and it even did more than I would have expected it to do.
Yeah, I think you're fair, especially for a Marvel film.
Yeah,
So it was good dialogue. It was good dialogue overall. There were some good funny lines in there, especially like when they were in the bunker and Bob's like, "You're Captain America." You're kind of an asshole. I just laughed so hard. I was like,
I
called him out so hard on it. Like, yeah, dude.
I love that they're not afraid to do that. I mean, if you had a super soldier in front of you who publicly executed a man and kind of had a history of being an asshole, I don't think any normal person would look him dead in the eyes and call him an asshole. So I love that Bob did that.
Well, Bob had been in the box. He had no idea who it was up until he'd come up.
Yeah, he did that even not knowing that he could defend himself because he's a dick. He's an asshole.
Go
ahead.
Oh yeah, but then there's like the part where everyone's kind of like, "What the hell, Winter Soldier?" Like he's got everyone wrapped up in the garage, and they're trying to explain everything that's going on with Bob, and he doesn't believe a word of it. Thinks it's all BS, and he finally gets a call from Mel, Valentina's assistant, and he's just like, "Bob," and then they're all like, "Bob, yes, we're trying to tell you, God, it's not bullshit." It's like that whole scene and dialogue there it cracked me up too.
That was one. So Marvel had gotten into a rut with their scripts of everybody trying to follow the Guardians of the Galaxy humor. Every movie had to have that. And it got bad where it took away from the films. This one, I thought balanced it much better. We still had a couple cheesy lines that I was like, could have lived without it. Didn't necessarily bother me. What I appreciated more was I felt like for the first time in a while, we got unique senses of humor versus everybody getting punchlines. Like Yelena is totally like dismissive and IDGAF attitude towards a lot of stuff was very funny to me. The way she was like, all right, yeah, that wasn't so bad. I'm like, that's funny to me. That worked.
They all played well off of each other because every character, like you said, had a different sense of humor to them.
Yes.
Like John Walker's sense of humor is just that he's an asshole and it's funny and he knows he's funny, but he's a dick.
Yep. And then Yelena is totally apathetic about most things emotional. So like even when her dad tries to have that emotional conversation with her towards the end, she's just like, "Oh, that wasn't so bad." And I'm like, not thank you or an emotional response. It was an appropriate comic line.
She's like, "Yeah, you did good, Dad." Kind of a thing. Yeah.
I love their dynamic, and I find it interesting to me that probably my favorite moment of the last, of the post Endgame era. I know Guardians 3 is start to finish my favorite movie that they've done, but in Black Widow, a movie that I didn't really care for, the scene where the whole family is sitting around the table just having a conversation, and we get to hear Red Guardian and Natasha and Yelena talk, the best moment in that movie, and one of the best moments in the entire MCU for me. And we do get another moment like that with Red Guardian and Yelena talking about how alone she is, and how he just says, like, I know I haven't been around, but I'm here now. You're not alone anymore. Just really, it's good stuff.
And then for her to echo that back to Sentry when needed.
Yeah.
Speaking of echoing back, though,
yeah,
at the beginning of the movie, when Yelena's in the lab trying to get rid of all the evidence, and that scientist pops up, and he's like trying to say no, and she's like, oh, blah, blah, repeating the same lines.
Yeah.
Like, she's been through this before. Blah, blah, they always say the same thing. And she's just like almost copying him line for line as he's saying it. I thought that was fantastic. That was so good. It's
also,
like
did you notice in that scene, did you notice the shadows on the wall at the very beginning?
Yes. I saw that, and I didn't really think anything of it. And I'm like, okay, well, something must have happened. Something must have got burned, or someone maybe got flash fried. And then it reconnects towards the end when they're in the room and Bob is fighting the void, where you see him sitting on the table. And it's like, oh, that's the same lab from the beginning. Holy shit. Way to bring it back around.
So the only reason I noticed is because I had seen the talk about the director saying he got the idea for the shadows from Hiroshima. And so when she was in that at the beginning, I was like, oh, there's shadows on the wall. There, like, it was subtle, but it was there. It was there.
That's good. Yeah. I missed that.
So then script, I'm gonna I was a 3. I think I'm gonna come up to a 4. I think it's a little bit better than a 3.
I feel comfortable with a 3.
It's a 3. It's a good script. It's a good script. It's not a great script. It's a good one.
Yeah, I'm still going to lean a 3 because it's, when you talk about like Marvel movies with just incredibly solid scripts, you're talking, Iron Man, Avengers, Winter Soldier, Guardians 1. I don't think it's quite on that level, but it's up there. So I'm sticking with a 3.
Okay. Well, we are unanimous on that one then, because I stuck with a 3 after I talked myself down. The acting. So this was a tough one for me because typically I'm like, a 5 is an Academy Award deserving performance. But nobody missed in this movie.
No,
nobody missed.
I would say Florence Pugh. It'll never happen, but if the Academy Awards came along and they nominated her for her performance in this movie, shit, I would not complain at all.
No.
I'd be all for it, dude.
She was excellent.
Yeah.
Like we said in the beginning, she definitely was like like you said, she's one of the big carries of this film, especially with her performance.
I wasn't expecting her to essentially be the lead of this movie. I thought it was going to be more of an ensemble film, and it still is. But I think we can definitively say Florence Pugh was the lead of the movie.
Oh, yes.
My God, that was such a good move. That was so smart for them to do.
Yeah, because initially I was disappointed Bucky wasn't the lead. But after seeing the movie,
I'm glad he wasn't.
After seeing the movie, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I do.
I wish we got a little more Red Guardian.
I wish. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I wish we got a little more Red Guardian. He was in it enough to satisfy, but he was so good. I wanted him to kind of be even more of a secondary lead. But
he was good comic relief in a lot of ways, though, as well as being more supportive as a character.
I love his red Santa.
We'll talk about the post-credit scene at the end, but
oh Jesus, that God, oh my God, both of them, Jesus,
Avengers with a V.
Both those sets, kind of cringy a little bit, but whatever. Yeah, we'll get to that.
I thought Florence was excellent. Lewis Pullman, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
His dad's Bill.
The son of Bill Pullman.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay, awesome. Cool. I like Bill Pullman.
Yeah, we got 2 famous sons in this movie. John Walker is Kurt Russell's son.
Huh. Well, I'm damn.
Yeah. That's why I was so. Kurt Russell's one of my favorite actors. So when I heard that Wyatt Russell was going to be joining the MCU as U.S. agent, I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm on board.
That's who his dad is. Why did I not put that together?
A lot of people say they look exactly alike. I don't see the resemblance that strong, but
I wouldn't have thought by looking at it.
No. Now that you say it, I see familial resemblance, but not like spitting image. No.
It's not like a clone. I mean, because you guys saw that Monarch show. Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell play the same character. Just Wyatt Russell plays the young version of his dad in the 50s.
Okay, I started the Monarch show. I did not finish it. I need to.
I haven't seen it. I have no idea.
I didn't finish it because my free Apple TV trial ran out, and I'm not paying for a streaming service with shows I don't care about.
Yes, exactly. But now I have it free through my phone provider, so I might as well go back and finish it.
Give it a shot. Season 2's coming soon.
All things Godzilla. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, but the performances. Lewis Pullman was amazing. First time I saw him was Bad Times at the El Royale, which I love that film.
Yeah.
I love that film. And he played such a sympathetic character in that. Kind of seeing him jacked in a superhero role instead of like the quiet, nerdy or comic relief character. I was like, he did a nice job. I forgot he was in Bad Times. I remember him just from Top Gun Maverick a couple years ago. That was the first time I really took note of him. Yeah. Also playing Bob in that movie. Yeah.
He's really good. I'm really happy to see more of him. But let me ask you guys this. So are you guys aware about the recasting that happened?
For
Sentry?
No, I have no idea. I don't know any of the details.
It was originally Stephen Yeun, Glenn from The Walking Dead.
Oh, what?
He was Sentry, but
that announcement.
After the writer's strike, the production had to get pushed back, and Stephen Yeun's schedule didn't line up, so they had to replace him. So they got Bill Pullman.
Huh.
I don't.
Yeah. Or Lewis Pullman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, now I have to dive in on, maybe they're the same age. I don't know. Dive in on a pet peeve of mine. Stephen Yeun is a little on the older side.
I think they're right about the same age.
Are they?
I think so. They're both in their 30s.
I have no idea.
Okay. I'm going to look because I know he was on Walking Dead forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
I got to find this out.
Do you think that Stephen Yeun would have made for a good Sentry?
I don't know, man. I can't really say in any way on that. I don't know, man.
I was distracted by it the whole time because, I was loving Lewis Pullman's performance, but the entire time I was just thinking how much I wanted Stephen Yeun in the MCU. And it's got to suck for him because they have big plans for Sentry. And he was so excited. I remember him talking about how excited he was to play this character and how upset he was when he had to leave.
He's like crushing it as Invincible right now.
Haven't seen
Invincible's awesome. God,
Invincible is amazing. That show is fantastic on Amazon Prime.
I watched the first episode. I watched the first episode. Didn't
watch some more, please.
So the comic was one of my favorite superhero series ever. I just reread it. I'm 2/3 of the way through, and it like the first major arc is incredible, and then it dips a little bit, but it gets its footing real quick again. And the show is super faithful on Amazon. It's very good. So Steven's killing it at that. I did just look, and to get back on my pet peeve, Lewis is 32 and Steven is 41.
Oh, wow.
Is he 41?
Yeah. So my main issue is I hate recently Marvel and DC hiring Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern, as Green Lantern. Not a bad choice. He's a great actor. But you're hiring these actors who are in their 40s and 50s for franchises you're hoping to carry for the next 10-ish years.
Yeah. So
hire Youngblood.
I'm halfway with you on that. I don't like seeing young 20-somethings get cast as superheroes because I feel like that backs you into a corner about you have to then write that character to be young and naive because it just kind of seems that that's how they seem to do it, and I hate that. That's why a lot of people are upset about the Fantastic Four casting. I love it.
I'm sick of Fantastic Four. I'm sorry. I'm tired of the reboots and rehashes.
Nope.
I saw the preview for what they showed the preview for the movie. I saw the trailer when I went to see Thunderbolts last night, and I was just like, another one. Like, man.
When the Fox Disney merger happened, the number one thing that I was excited about was getting a good Fantastic Four movie. Now, I don't know if the movie's going to be good. We'll find out in like 2 months. But I love the Fantastic Four.
I don't know. Pascal is Reed Richards. I don't know, man. I feel
that's my big hang up. I like Pedro. I thought I was mad at Disney. I feel like they had great casting in Krasinski. I think
that would have been awesome.
Yeah. And he's young enough to carry the role for the next couple of years. And I get that Reed Richards is typically older. He's often shown with gray hair. But I think I'm gonna give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. I'm gonna wait for reviews on Fantastic Four to see if it's worth the theater trip or if it's
I'll let you know. I'm getting day one ticket. The moment they go live, I'm getting it. No, I agree. Pedro Pascal's a weird choice for the role. Yeah, he's a weird choice for the role, but I'm okay with it because I am a huge fan of him. But I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be Penn Badgley. I really thought they were going to go with him.
I don't even know who that is.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
He's the lead from that show on Netflix, You.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought they were going with him.
Honestly, I don't think that's that awful of a choice. He looks a lot like Ian Grufford from the originals.
Him or Glenn Howerton, and I know was rumored for a while.
Glenn Howerton, I would have loved. I would have bought.
I don't think that was ever serious. Yeah, I don't think it was ever serious, but he was in the running.
I would have bought tickets for that.
Yeah.
Cast Charlie Day as the Thing.
No, Danny DeVito's the Thing. Charlie Day's Human Torch.
Just do the
Caitlin Olsen is obvious.
As Fantastic Four. I'd watch the heck out of that.
That would be so absurd, but so messed up to watch, but fun.
All right, so the acting, our final scores for that.
4.
I'm a 4.
I'm gonna go 5. Just Florence Pugh alone, but everybody was great.
That's perfect. So the direction. This is one that I had to look up the director because I've never really seen any of his work before. Didn't really know him, but I don't know what it was with this movie, but this movie looked different than other Marvel films.
It had style.
It had style, and I don't know. Part of me genuinely thinks Marvel didn't necessarily believe in it, and so they took more of a backseat approach, less involvement. I heard the production for this was much easier than the production for Captain America.
Well, it's because this is the first movie that went into production after Bob Chapek was officially gone.
Oh.
Yeah, Brave New World. That's why for me, and I've talked about this, and I know I've posted about it online a few times, talking about the reason why I'm actually getting excited for the MCU again is because, the last, 5.5 years have been nothing but failures in my eyes. Well, not nothing, but mostly failures.
Mostly, yeah.
But that's because the last 5.5 years have been Bob Chapek resulted products. We are officially out of the Chapek era. The only thing left that was made under Chapek is Ironheart, and you couldn't pay me to watch that. So I'm okay.
Yeah, it's a side character
is what
from Wakanda
is.
Forever.
Fair.
Okay, yeah, remember that really annoying teenage girl that was a bitch for no reason and thought she was better than everybody else? Well, they gave her a show. Yeah.
It was, so that's another one. Okay, so I don't want to talk about it in direction. But that character was created by Brian Michael Bendis, which we'll get into on the next category. But the direction on this, like you said, Adam, it had style. It looked, a lot of those shots looked good. I think back to they did that like A24 or A24 commercial.
Is that not the best trailer Marvel has ever done?
Yes. I thought it was a genius move because it's like, hey, film bros who always talk about this cinematographer. Well, guess what?
We got him.
I appreciated that. But I also watched it and I was like, if you would just let your artist cook on a movie.
It's almost like when you get talented filmmakers and you let them make a movie, things turn out good.
Yeah.
Assembly lines aren't the end of the product.
Who would have thought? Oh my God.
I was watching this one saying, so I listen to a guy all the time, I'm not going to name drop him, who says that Marvel casts directors.
Yes.
They don't hire them.
Yep.
And he says that a lot. And there's a lot of evidence for many of the previous movies to go with that. And a lot of Disney Marvel has done a successful job of taking, like, the Russo brothers prior to Winter Soldier had directed like episodes of Arrested Development and Parks and Rec. You know, that's what they've done. And then they did Winter Soldier and it was fantastic. They're not out here hiring big name directors to do these movies.
No.
But, go ahead.
They get people that they can mesh with behind the scenes. Basically, what they want is somebody who knows how to control a cast and knows how to point a camera, but can also play ball.
Yep,
and you see that when the movies don't work, I think those are the ones where the directors didn't play ball and Marvel interfered too much.
So one of the biggest disappointments for me is actually the Marvels, because, and I know this movie is controversial for a lot of people. I thought Nia DaCosta, I loved her vision and execution of the Candyman reboot. The story, fine. Okay, you can have your complaints about the story. I thought that movie was directed insanely well. I thought it looked so good. It was a fantastic film. I will revisit that movie just for the atmosphere that she set in that film.
Yeah.
She nailed it. And so when I heard she was doing a Marvel movie, I was initially like, oh no. Because I knew it was going to be watered down. It was going to be washed out. And I was disappointed because if they had let her cook, it probably would have been amazing.
Yeah. I will say that I like the Marvels more than Captain Marvel. Not a lot more, but definitely more.
Well, it was less
boring. I hate the first Captain Marvel.
I didn't like it either.
So, it's so boring.
The
Marvels was at least fun.
The message of the first Captain Marvel is that you're good enough as you are. You don't need to change. That's why I hated that movie.
Yeah.
I hated that movie.
I can't say I really cared for either one of them, but that's beside the point.
Anyways, this one, I thought they let the director cook. You can see it. There is a different visual style to this film than a lot of the previous Marvel installments. I don't want to, someone's going to hate me for saying this. It looked more like it was dark, and Snyder used to get hated on.
Yes. I was going to say it looks like a Snyder movie, which I love. I love that.
I love Snyder's visual style. I love his slow-mo and CGI, whatever. Yeah, he does too much of that, but he knows how to compose a shot. He knows how to make art on the screen. So this movie looked more like that than any Marvel movie I've seen. Even Endgame got bogged down with too much CGI. It looks good, but this movie visually I was impressed with.
Yeah. It felt real. It looked like you could feel the world they were in. Yeah.
That was another thing. They avoided multiversal stuff, which made me enjoy this a heck of a lot more.
Which also made that post-credit scene feel a little bit more special because it wasn't the whole damn thing.
Yes. So, any other comments on direction?
It did good.
Yeah.
It worked well.
I'm a 4.
I can just go 3.
4. I'm happy with a 4.
And the it factor, so the cultural significance of this film, this was a tough one for me. I think this is a tough category when we review opening weekends.
Yeah.
Because there's not a whole lot of information out right now. But I had to score based on the buzz of the moment. So I base mine on the fact that Marvel has had diminished returns for the last 6-7 movies. The only one that had legs recently was Guardians 3, which actually kind of plateaued and held out for a while because word of mouth was good. Other than that, each one opens to a smaller opening than the one before it and drops off meteorically the next weekend. I think this movie, after seeing it, is going to have legs. I think people are going to spread good words. Go see this one. I don't know that it's going to hit Guardians 3 level of good legs. I don't know.
No, I think this is probably going to cap around the 500, maybe get close to 600 million worldwide by the end of it. But I'll tell you, there are a couple other things helping the movie, with its legs right now. And there are several really good movies out right now that have people coming back to the theater. Thunderbolts is great on its own, but look at what's going on with Sinners. People are going back to that.
Yes.
And Minecraft, people are going back to that. And I know Accountant 2 is not performing great, but there are people that are going to see that.
I want to see Accountant 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to miss that one in the theaters, unfortunately, but I'm very excited to get to it. But yeah, I think Thunderbolts is going to hold, especially if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score right now is like a 95, I think.
Yeah. And normally
people are digging this.
If you go to the Rotten Tomatoes and you click on like the all audience, it usually drops significantly versus the like curated audience. It doesn't. Like the general audience score for this is high. I think it just goes to show people have been starving for a good Marvel film for a while.
It's not superhero fatigue or movie fatigue. It's bad movie fatigue.
Bad movie fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan, what were you saying?
Just say it has the potential to be more of a pivotal turning point for Marvel to get them back on track. Especially, and then like the whole concept of bringing back like your anti-hero kind of set of characters, I think is a great way to do that. I think that's going to be really strong for them.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't exactly know what takeaways Marvel is going to have from this film. I don't exactly know how they could get bad takeaways from it because there's nothing in this movie that if they repeat it again, I don't want them to repeat it again. But like the things that I think worked in this movie are a unique story with the most original final act I've seen in a Marvel film. It's very different than any Marvel film. Also, letting the director direct the movie. Make something that is unique. And having a solid story as your foundation. I never heard the press talk about Thunderbolts goes into rewrites. Thunderbolts has 6 weeks of reshoots. Thunderbolts director out. I never heard any of that. I heard Thunderbolts was happening. This is the cast. And then it just like they let the movie be made.
They did the damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Stephen Yeun casting is the only thing, and I forgot about that.
And that wasn't even their fault. That was the writer's strike that just caused the schedules to not line up.
Yeah. So it's almost like Marvel. If you just let the movie be made, you might end up with some better stuff. You might.
I think this is.
You will. I'm not gonna say you will.
Yeah, I think this is the first step in a 4-movie like consecutive win for them. Because I believe Fantastic Four is going to do well. I'm liking everything I'm seeing from it. I don't know if I'm wrong for having confidence, but I'm kind of excited for Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars.
Did they? Russo's back. Yeah.
I want to see some Secret Wars action. I've been waiting a long time for some Secret Wars. I want to see something hit.
I'm nervous.
I'd love to see something.
I'm optimistic, but I'm nervous about Secret Wars because I'm done with the multiverse, but also like, let's just do it. Let's get it over with. I'm afraid that it's going to be too dry by the time we get to it, though. But
I worry.
Time.
Depending on how they do this Robert Downey Jr. thing, we'll see. I was not excited about the casting. I thought it was pandering. It's like, hey, we're struggling. Let's bring back your favorite. And I was like, meh. But if they write it to where this Doctor Doom is an alternate universe Tony, it's a big stray from the comics. I get it. But for this, it could work to hit some pretty good emotional cues and play into the characters who knew Tony. And it could be interesting. I'm cautiously optimistic. You could get some great stuff between Tom Holland, and Doctor Doom.
Ooh.
Hopefully he's even in the movie, though. They haven't
But that's
announced
what-
Tom Holland
yeah.
in the cast.
They haven't announced him, and that's what makes me like, man, I always hated Tony being in the Spider-Man movies. Just let Peter Parker be Peter Parker. Quit making him Iron Man Jr.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it factor for me, I did go pretty low because I don't think the cultural buzz is there for this movie. That could change in the next couple weeks. I'm already seeing this weekend positive talk about it. The one guys that I listen to all the time didn't have positive talk about it, but I think they're just like, they've made their name for crapping on everything that gets released. So I think it's popular to hate on stuff lately.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie is entirely deserving. I don't think it's deserving of hate. I can understand why you dislike certain things, but this movie, I think it's going to have pretty positive buzz. I went with a 3 based more on Marvel's recent downward trajectory than anything this movie actually deserves. I don't think people are turning out like they used to.
You go ahead, Jonathan, because I got something to say outside of.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go ahead, and I'll do mine.
Yeah, like I said, I'm skeptical about it, about what kind of impact it's going to have. Like I said, as much as I enjoyed it and how it may affect MCU and the MCU universe and all that, I'm sitting at a 3 on it.
I'm going to go as high as a 4 because this movie tackles a lot of like mental health issues. And I think you do have to take into consideration the way that the younger generation right now views mental health. I think this is a movie that is going to latch on to that Gen Z millennial generation. We're going to see it down the road. I don't think we're going to see it right now, but give it 6 months, give it a year. I think there's a lot of people that are going to turn to this and be like, this superhero movie actually kind of spoke to me a little bit, because it does very appropriately discuss mental health. So I think that cultural impact isn't going to happen overnight, but it's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
I think you're onto something there. I do think there are many movies where the cultural impact has been changed because of time. For instance, last Halloween we did John Carpenter's The Thing, which kind of flopped at the box office and is now legendary status. So
pretty much every Carpenter movie did that.
I can agree with you there. I do think I think it'll have legs. I think it's going to be talked about after. I don't hear people talking about the Marvels anymore, but I'm going to hear people talk about how this movie surprised them. So our final overall out of 10, this is just the casual, like, if you're scoring this movie, what was your entertainment value, your final thoughts on it, and anything else you have to say before we wrap it up?
Adam, go for it. Sounds like you had something else you were going to say anyhow.
Well, I was going to say, did you guys want to talk about that post-credit scene before we wrap it up?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wanted to address that in It Factor. So, Brian, thank you. Well, not necessarily post-credit scene, the final reveal of the movie. So, big spoilers coming up. The Thunderbolts asterisk is that's not their name.
Yes. I loved that.
Their name is the New Avengers. And while that's revealed sitting in the theater, the people behind me go, ugh. And I'm like, what? No, I am excited about this. So the New Avengers is Brian Michael Bendis, major comic book writer, mostly known for doing the Ultimate Spider-Man in 2000 that was released, basically a jumping on point for people that coincided with the release of Sam Raimi's trilogies. So that's where he kind of got his big start in comic books. But since then, he's gone on to do a lot. He created Miles Morales, who at the time it was kind of controversial that Miles was being created, whatever. I love the character Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Any book written by Brian Michael Bendis about Miles Morales is excellent reading. You go back and you read it, it's an alternate universe Spider-Man. Peter Parker dies. There is a need for a Spider-Man, and the way it was written, it works. It's fantastic storytelling. Excellent. But then Brian kind of got stuck in this idea of, can you do that again? And then we get like Riri Williams and Ironheart. And this idea to just keep bringing out these characters. But Brian was the one who came up with the idea of the New Avengers. So it debuted in 2005. And I want to say it was a spin-off of the long-running Avengers, where for some reason the leaders of, I got it on Wiki. They were a sanctioned government team, but I want to say they were created because the main Avengers were a bit absent. And so the government created the New Avengers. And so this movie is one of the best versions of following the comic books that I've seen Marvel do in a while. They kind of take ideas and run with it. But like Red Hulk should have been a Hulk movie, not a Captain America movie. Thor Ragnarok was based on World War Hulk, which should have been a fantastic Hulk movie, but was a Thor film. So Marvel takes
not
the
good
idea.
Thor film.
So Marvel takes these ideas and changes them. But New Avengers was actually one of their best at taking, the cast might be slightly different, but the idea of a government formed version of the Avengers in the Avengers' absence has been around since 2005, and I'm here for it. I liked it. They are supposed to be, like they say in the end credits scene, that no one's taking them seriously. That is their thing. They are the B group.
I loved the end credits to this so much. I remember when the credits were rolling, I texted my buddy. He hasn't seen the movie yet, but I just told him, I said, the end credits of this movie and the reveal of that asterisk almost makes the last 5.5 years of disappointing Marvel feel intentional. Like they had us in such a dour spot. And what this movie does during the credits makes me throw my hands up and say, you know what? I accept it. Let's move forward because I like what we're doing. I like this a lot.
At the end of the movie, this is a team I want to see again.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely will see what they come up with for them for sure.
And I have confidence that we're gonna see them again. Unlike a lot of post-credit scenes, which are like, "Cool, Hercules, thanks for showing up to set for one day. We'll never see you again."
Or
seeing a glimpse of Howard the Duck, and then like, okay, we're gonna see him again.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah.
Or
maybe
is it Excalibur at the end of what is his name? Henry Styles playing Excalibur at the end of Eternals, and we'll never see that again. No plans.
If we ever see him again, I oh my god. That's never coming back.
So when they did the New Avengers Will Return, I genuinely have not been that excited about a Marvel thing in a long time. Even Guardians 3, I enjoyed the crap out of. It was an emotional experience. It was a great cap to that trilogy. Marvel's, it's up there with Marvel's best trilogy. I typically said Captain America has the best Marvel trilogy, but I think Guardians' second movie is pretty weak.
I used to agree with you on that, but lately it's really grown on me. But Guardians 2 is very impactful to me. That's a movie about a son's relationship with his father, and I got a whole thing there. So I love the Guardians trilogy because it's the first movie's about a mom, second movie's about a dad, third movie's about a friend. Those are all things that just like really tear me up. So
I need to give the second one. Need to give the second one a watch. It's been a while, but I remember thinking the third one was a fantastic way, but it was bittersweet because it was a farewell.
Yeah.
It was a farewell. So that is something Marvel hasn't really done, is a farewell outside of Endgame, when we farewell Tony, farewell Captain America. Even
farewell
though
to all these people that we're going to see again.
Yes, exactly. So this one though, I'm excited to see him again. I bought into this team.
Yeah. And just the context of that post-credit scene on its own, of them talking about the rift in space, like doomsday is happening outside those walls right now. And it was so exciting to feel that, because there's something going on that we're going to find out in a year. I love the way that Bucky looked. So 90s with that big hair. I love John Walker just not giving a shit. There's a rift in space and he just doesn't care. Yelena's trying her best. Red Guardian's getting sponsorship ads. And then we see on the screen, we see the Fantastic Four ship, which I have now seen 100 times from rewatching that trailer. And just as it tilts and we see the four, oh man, I'm here.
It worked for you.
Yes, it did.
I'm so apprehensive. I'm so apprehensive about it that I'm just like, I don't know about this Fantastic Four. If Fantastic Four ends up to be amazing, that's going to change this scene for me.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. I'm still very nervous. I'm still very nervous about it. But this movie has given me more hope. Mm-hmm. So my final score on this film, I'm a bit surprised by it, but my final score, and for anybody just tuning in, we had 3 viewers at one point. I based the 10 for me, the difference between a 9 and a 10. 9 means I enjoyed the crap out of it, but I don't want to watch it again immediately. 10 means I would put this movie on repeat and I would want to experience it again. At this point, I walked out of the theater checking to see when tomorrow's showtimes were.
Really?
Because I wanted to go back to it. I wanted to see it again as soon as the credits rolled. And for me, that means it's a 10. I enjoyed, I think I've been pretty fair. The script isn't a 5 out of 5. Things aren't perfect in this film. But it has been so long since I went to the movie theater and had not just a good time, but an emotional ride for a Marvel film. And I thought it was a little bit slow getting off its feet. The walking up the chute thing, I was like, can we speed this up? But by the end of it, I wasn't even thinking about that. By the end of it, I was all in, loving it. It almost ended too soon by the end of it. It was almost too quick. But I think that was a good play on something you're not exactly sure how this group of characters is going to be received. So let's keep it simple. I think it was a good choice. But
you want to know something funny? You talk about a little slow in the beginning. My theater, the projector broke 31 minutes into the movie. It took them about 15 minutes to get it fixed. Once they got it fixed, they had to restart the movie. So I saw the first half hour of this movie twice.
Nice.
Oh,
okay. All right.
Yeah. And it held up the second time. It was
okay. I was like, did half of your audience leave or did they stick around?
They yelled a lot. They yelled, but they stayed.
I believe that. No chicken jockeys.
No.
Chicken fights, yeah. Good times.
Yep. But I am surprised. I am surprised to say that it was a 10 out of 10 for me. I would watch this movie again. I told my wife last night that I was double checking showtimes again. I want to see it again. First time I wanted to see another Marvel movie in the theater. And I'm not counting Deadpool Wolverine. That's a Fox property that Disney is putting their name on. This one had a lot of Marvel in it, but it also had a lot of Ryan Reynolds in it, which was why Deadpool was successful. So, and the things that made the Deadpool Wolverine movie a Marvel movie were the worst parts of the Deadpool Wolverine film.
I'll agree. I love that movie. I saw that movie in the theater 3 times, but I'll agree.
Oh,
wow. I really like that one too.
It is a good movie. I enjoy that
one. I would own that movie. I would own it. Yeah.
You haven't seen that one, Jonathan?
No, I've seen Wolverine Deadpool for sure. I love the hell out of that movie. Like I said, it's a movie that I would totally own. I would love to have that in my collection. I'd be all for that.
I enjoy that one for the bromance more than anything else happening in
the Honda Odyssey fight scene, dude. Like how he rags the Honda. He's like, "Oh, Odyssey fucks." And I'm like,
the score for that movie is fantastic too. I've listened to some tracks from that film on repeat at times. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think Sean Levy he did better with the action scenes in that than some of the action scenes in this movie, I would say. He's got an eye for it. But yeah. So anyways, I'm surprised, but I'm a 10 on this one. Someone else can
the hell out of it. I'm not gonna go. I wouldn't go see it again right away. I need time for stuff to sink in and to play out in my mind before I want to watch it a second time. So I'm sitting at pretty high to 9.
I guess based on your score system, I guess I would fall into a 10. But I don't think you and I have the same 1 to 10 ratio. Based on my general rating, I would give it an 8 because it is something that I would really want to see again. I would love to go back and see it right away. I don't think that's a 10 out of 10 for me. An 8 out of 10 feels very good.
Okay. Yeah. So altogether, that makes Jonathan, what was your final score?
All of my stuff totaled all together puts me at a 38.
38?
Yep.
Okay. Adam, I have you at a 39.
Okay.
And then I'm at a 40. So we are all right there. And that puts our final score at a 39. I didn't need a calculator to figure that out, but I used it anyways. Puts us at a 39, which would average out to 4 stars out of 5. And I think that's fairly accurate for this movie. So 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. That's an 80%. Yeah, that's right at it.
Yep. So that is what I think. If you're made it all the way through this episode, I think it's worth going to see in theaters. If you've been burned out on Marvel lately, if you don't think they've done much good since Endgame, I encourage you to go back for this one. Maybe read up, do some wiki articles on who John Walker is, maybe a little bit of recap on Ghost, who some of these characters are, but you don't need to. They briefly tell you enough that you can.
They give you everything you need right there. Yeah.
Yep. So final words.
I think see this on the biggest screen you can, just because of the ending when the Void is taking over New York, that imagery and the sound design during that sequence warrants a big screen, warrants big speakers. I think this is going to be amazing to watch again at home, but I think the first time you need to see the Void as big as you can.
Wasn't it offered in 3D?
I don't know about 3D.
I don't have 2 functional eyes, so I can't see 3D.
Okay, I thought it was available in 3D, but I was like, that's not for me. Yeah.
No, I don't like 3D. I know it was on IMAX, so
yeah,
that would be a good experience. Jonathan, you have final thoughts on it?
I think it's a super kick-ass film. I would recommend everyone and anyone to go watch it. There's so much to it. There's a lot of feels, a lot of great action, some fun humor into it. You know, it's got a nice all-around feel to it.
All right. I completely agree. I was genuinely surprised and excited to report that this is a good Marvel film. I was excited to come out with positive things to say. It's not a perfect movie, but it is everything that I want from a Marvel movie.
It's phase 3 level good. I would say, yeah.
Right.
Yep. So, Jonathan, you ready to read us out?
Let's do this, bro.
That's going to wrap it up for our Thunderbolts review. Huge thanks to Adam for joining us and bringing the heat to the discussion today.
Absolutely. And thanks to you for listening, watching, scoring, and sending in your thoughts. Whether you loved it, hated it, or landed somewhere in the middle, that's what the average is all about.
So don't forget, you can grab one of our 3 scoring cards on Instagram and add your own voice to the mix. Comment your score, debate ours, and tell us where Thunderbolts lands on your MCU list.
And while you're at it, like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know the drill. New episodes are always better when you're here with us.
Because this is the average where the real review happens with your friends.
And sometimes those friends are super soldiers, assassins, and morally questionable anti-heroes just to try and keep the MCU lights on.
Hey, whatever it takes. Catch you next time.